Hey guys, it's Ricardo here with Coldwell Banker and Destin and 30A. And yes, we cover the entire Emerald Coast. We have a team here and we want to break down the new bill that most of you have heard that passed on the 4th of July, the big, beautiful bill. It's big. Is it beautiful? I don't know. A lot of people don't see more debt over the next 10 years of 2.8 to 3.5 trillion as a beautiful thing. It may actually bring a lot more difficulties and we could see ourselves in the same market, but just sometime in the near future, whether that's 5 to 10 years from now. But since there's a new president, new legislation and law, I want to go over with you the potential benefits, and yes, there's also negatives that I'm going to cover. So since this bill has passed in July, we are in peak season of the Emerald Coast, which means a lot of investors right now are looking to sell their portfolio to move into something else, whether they're doing a 1031 exchange, a deferred sales trust, or they're taking a loss because they're like, hey, this investment just isn't good in this market. We want to move our money and put it somewhere else where it's making us more money and it's going to be a better long-term investment. So why am I bringing this bill up? Well, because our market offers a lot of commercial and short-term rentals. And what they're bringing back now is going to be a lot of tax and depreciation advantages. And if you work on the Emerald Coast, you'll notice that the majority of the jobs are hospitality jobs. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime. So this is the cool thing, I guess, about this now. If you're a bartender, anyone that runs on tips, you know, you're probably making, like, don't judge me, I don't know the exact number, but let's say it's between $5 to $20 an hour, right? And the majority of your money is going to come through tips. So we know that they're not going to claim those tips. But now let's say, hey, my hourly salary comes out to $30,000 to $35,000 a year as a bartender or working in the restaurant business, but I make $60,000 in tips, right? So that $60,000 is not going to be taxed and it's going to be added on top of your income. So that means now that you can qualify 60 plus the 35, you have 95,000 total income. 30 of it is taxable, which means you're saving a lot of money on taxes, and you can probably qualify on 3 times the amount now. That's pretty crazy. I think it's going to make a lot of people that couldn't get loans the ability to get loans, and not just get them at double to 3 times the amount that they could have gotten it. So I think that's going to be an advantage for the hospitality business. Obviously, spending in national security and immigration is something they're going to be ongoing and ongoing and ongoing. So what does that mean and why does it matter? Well, there's going to be a few things that's really going to make our market move. And it's not going to just be, oh yeah, interest rates are going to cut and the market's going to go well. Anyone that understands the supply of money understands that there's a certain amount of money on the sidelines, money that they can print at any time, and the rates are on the market, you know, allows us to see the amount of leverage or the amount of leverage that we want to put into the market. So why is this important with this bill? Well, if we have a lifetime of money just sitting, like a record-breaking amount of money just sitting right now in the market, which we do, I'm not sure if you looked at the money supply, but it's insane, the highest in history, which means that if we start injecting the economy and the market, we're going to see a rise. And we may see a gradual rise, or we may just see like we did in 2020 and we go up. It really depends on how quickly people are going to deploy their cash and the tax benefits that they're going to get. So with this bill, I think we are getting the bonus depreciation, right? So if you buy an asset that, let's say it's $1 million, right? You do 200 down, you have 800 left on it, you can depreciate it 100%, or you can do a 5-year schedule. So what does that mean? I could potentially, you know, depreciate $175,000 a year against my income or any taxable event that I'm going through, as long as it goes and meets the guidelines for the tax loophole. Or I can do a bonus depreciation immediately if I have a really big tax bill. So imagine if I had an $800,000 tax bill and I bought $1 million commercial building, put $200,000 down, and I depreciated the rest of the $800,000. No taxes left, right? So I think that's going to be a little bit more inviting for investors and people that really want to harbor their taxes or just protect themselves from paying the maximum liability. So I think that's going to stimulate the real estate economy. Now, he promises that rates are gonna start dropping at the end of 25 and 26. So if rates drop, let's say by 0.5 point to a percentage, we're probably gonna see mortgages on average be about $300 to $500 a month cheaper. So that means you're gonna be saving around $4,500 to about $6,500 a year on interest on a $300,000 house. You're gonna have $6,000 extra to your pocket. I'm not gonna go into like the tax benefits with the kids and everything. I'm just solely doing it for real estate. There's a lot lot more tax advantages, but I'm mostly speaking about how it's going to impact real estate from a tax standpoint, an interest standpoint, and the money coming in, and more individuals are going to be able to qualify for home loans. So that's what I'm going over right now for this big, beautiful bill. At the same time, over a period of time, if we keep getting a bunch of tax breaks or not paying taxes in due to certain loopholes, that means they're not going to be collecting as much, right? Which means that we're going to keep going into a deficit. So what do I think is going to happen? And please do not hold myself to this, but it seems like the United States is going to keep printing money for the foreseeable future because they believe that their economy is the best economy, and if we go down, the whole world goes down. So it's more about stability and global stability maybe for them than short-term problems are going to become bigger problems down the road. So regardless, you're going to have to invest, otherwise you're going to wait, I don't know, 3, 5, 10 years for the next cycle. So people are going to start looking at their money and say, you know, I've been holding out for about 2.5 to 3 years. There's new policy coming into play. A lot of these big players are looking at policy, guys. They're not looking as much as political. And Florida being one of the better states for policy when it comes to taxes or just general business, I think we're going to see a resurgence of money start to come in. I don't mean a flood of money where everything's just going to be selling, but we'll start to see more consistency because of this happening, right? So the big, beautiful bill and just being Florida itself, I think it's going to start increasing our market because Florida is a lot of hospitality jobs. So whatever that workforce was that couldn't qualify for a loan now, they'll be able to, right? So imagine having more buyers on the market, right? Buyers that couldn't even be buyers if they wanted to even 4 years ago, right? Even when it was easier to qualify. And also what you can write off if they get rid of property taxes. You know, it's going to be another $3,000 to $10,000 per owner in the state of Florida that they're going to be saving. So I mean, with all these potential tax savings, it could be an additional, you know, $5,000 to $15,000 cheaper to own a home if interest rates go down by 0.5 point or a percentage. You know, people start working more and collecting more money and they don't get taxed on that, and then hopefully they make the right decisions to buy good investments or things that they can afford, right? And then the third thing is going to be all these things and policies coming to play. If we see the interest rate drop, we know that they're already giving tax benefits, right? So if they're giving tax benefits, you know that they're going to bring on the money printer. They're going to have to print money because if they're dropping rates, the US national government, they don't want to refi into these big rates or double or triple. They want to be able to arbitrage or have some sort of profit in the middle, which is typically about like 1%, right? Like in 2020, they had a 1% margin on what they were lending. Even though that it was super cheap to lend, they were still having money coming in. So I think in the interest of the United States and the overall sovereign markets, that's why we're going to see this big, beautiful bill start to push spending and tax cuts, because we need to start moving in some direction before the ship keeps sinking, right? So what do I think is going to happen in real estate? Well, we're typically going to see like a 6-month transition period. So if it happened, let's say in July, we may not see it into the beginning of the year, but you'll start to see birth pains. And by birth pains, you'll mean like you'll get more showings out of nowhere, right? Instead of having 1 showing a month, maybe you'll start getting 1 showing a week, right? I'm not saying your house is going to sell for 100 grand more, but at least it's going to sell maybe at the current list price so you don't keep price dropping. See? So those are the things that we're going to start to see between July, August, September. How quick is this policy coming into effect? How quickly are they going to drop the interest rates? How much money are we going to print? And are these tax depreciation benefits going to be enough for affluent individuals to put their money back in the market and say, hey, I'm tired of getting paid 4 to 5% with this bank. I want to start going for 8 to 15% returns again. When we start seeing that, that's when I think the big, beautiful bill will be fully in effect. And that's when I think the economy is going to go back to where it was, white hot, and just growth and growth and growth, with overall GDP increasing at the same time that our debt is increasing, which is a double-edged sword. So make sure that you study this market. Whatever you've been watching that's been dropping, from a cost basis standpoint, if you buy something right under what it costs to build, that's a great buy for some people. You know, some people, they want a 5 to 7% return on their money. That could be a great buy for them right now. Others, they may think a good buy is purchasing something close to the 2020 to 21 pricing, so that inflation during that period came back to 2025 and we're resetting again. Regardless of the situation, I do believe, and I believe right now, that there's opportunities are emerging. Whether you see something listed at 900, you could very well get for 750 to 800. Don't wait. Use this time. Use this time before they start lowering the rates, printing money, and it becomes apparent to sellers again that, hey, you know what? I waited a year. I can wait another 2-3 months, right? If you're a buyer. And if you're a seller, I would would just take advantage of this opportunity to go at a good price, because at any moment things can change. This economy is not stable by any means, and we've seen a lot of declines with rises coming up and down, and consistency has been far and few between. And don't lie to yourself and think that we cannot go back to that if we go back into a recession, which we're hoping that we're not going to. So play it safe, look at what you're buying, see if it's gonna be a tax benefit or if it's a good long-term investment that's 5 to 10 years from now, and you're not thinking about the now, but you want a good price, but it doesn't matter what the next 2 years do, depending on your situation. I love to connect with you. And if you've been sitting on the market, you may not understand the current market. You may be stuck in 23 and 24, and that information is out the window, which means that if you're using those strategies, your home's not gonna sell. You have to make an adjustment now, and you have to make sure that the adjustment is big enough to get it sold. Don't adjust too little and don't adjust too much. There's a sweet spot right in the middle, and we go over all those 3 points. We go over 3 points with sellers. How do we know that your home is priced right? Well, the cost to build. Are we under replacement value, right? After repair value. Is there meat on the bones for someone else? Or if it's a rental, can the asset support itself? These are just a few things that we're looking at right now in this market that are helping people sell their homes. But please keep in mind, the people that are selling, they're not selling for record numbers. They're just wanting to get out of the market, or they want to take the profits. So yes, things are still selling at higher prices than they were before, but by no means is this 2021 or 2022.